Hello and welcome back to Talking Shakers, our weekly web look at the goings on at Gig Lane. My name's Mark Isles and with me today is our Shakers writer Nick Jackson. Right, well, it's all looking a little bit rosier at Gig Lane this week after the Walsall performance.
It is. They were smarting from being knocked out of the cup by Crawley, but what you got to remember is they want back-to-back wins. Well, effectively, they've got back-to-back league wins, but just punctuated effectively by a poor performance in the FA Cup. But now what they want to do, of course, they're playing Preston on Saturday, and they're looking to get proper back-to-back wins, as it were, and sort of rub salt in the wound for Preston, who really haven't won for the last 11 games.
Another local derby. I mean, they've fared well against Oldham. They're going to be up for this sort of one, haven't they?
They're going to love it, because the thing they need to do above everything else is get the home form back on track. Because as Peter Sweeney alluded to in his post-match comments, the teams that do well in League One and the Championship are the ones who do well at home. Although I have to say, their away form is very impressive. I mean, in two matches, the last two away matches, Oldham and Walsall, they were just by far and away the better team in both games, and they were dominating possession. All right, there wasn't a lot of end product all the time, but if you'd have been a home supporter, you'd have been very annoyed with your with your team.
I mean, he's getting goals from elsewhere in the team as well now, Richie Barker. I mean, that must be a big thing. You're not relying on one person, as maybe Ryan Lowe was that person earlier in the season.
Absolutely, and that was highlighted at the weekend when you had three midfield players all getting a name on the score sheet, all from distance, and all really good goals. I mean, Sweeney's was amazing. He whacked it from 25 yards, and it always looks better when it cannons in off the underside of the bar, doesn't it, and ripples the net. But they absolutely took the wind out of Walsall, and after Walsall got back deservedly, because they did claw the way back in, being the home team you'd expect them to, they just did it again. At the beginning of the second half, Jonah again curled it in from the edge of the box, and it was a beautiful goal. And similarly, Schumacher from 20 yards following a Sweeney corner, another excellent strike. And then to cap it all, John Lewis comes off the bench. He's not scored since January, and whacks one in beating David Groff at his near post, and it was a really good strike. And you could tell the whole team were. And this is the thing about Bury, because they're a small club, they have this fantastic team spirit, and it seems to be that Richie Barker, the manager, is sort of fostering that, and they're a unified unit, and they're all celebrating each other's goals as equally as their own, and that was the case especially with John Lewis's goal, because they were all aware of the fact he hadn't been on the score sheet for a long time.
Seems to be bringing something out of Andy Bishop that maybe we haven't seen in the last few months.
Well, I don't want to be cynical. Well, Andy Bishop, he's got a new contract coming up. His contract expires this year. He is playing out of his skin. I mean, he didn't score on Saturday, but he absolutely worked his socks off, and you've got to take your hat off to him. He was totally unselfish, and I don't care what his motivation is. If it means that he's playing well for Bury, then I think also he's enjoying. This is probably more it. He's enjoying a spell of not being. Having any injuries, because that must really get a player down when he's dogged by injuries, as we all know that Andy Bishop was for 18 months. You know,
absolutely. I mean, there's not many strikers around that level that are as good as Bish when he's flying, but it's about doing it now in front of a home crowd and convincing some of those people that maybe gave him a hard time, gave Richie Barker a hard time this season, that they're willing to be more than relegation candidates now.
Well, exactly, and you do sense that. There is that feeling now that it's not just going to be about scrapping to avoid the drop back to League Two. The 4 points now off the playoff places. I know there's a hell of a long way to go, but they're a long way off the relegation places. And of course that breeds confidence. And suddenly you've got players talking. Well, we can do whatever we want. We're a good football team, and that's what you want players to think, because confidence breeds confidence, and confidence breeds wins, doesn't it, at the end of the day? So fingers crossed they should hopefully do well against Preston, who are having, like I said earlier, an awful time at the moment.
Well said that, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thank you very much, Nick. Join us again next week for Talking Shakers, where we'll be looking how the Shakers went on at home to Preston.